Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. My name is Vinnie and I'm joined with today's guest, Matt. He's selling his e-commerce business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Welcome to the show, Matt. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Vinnie. Excited to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm excited to be here too. Quite interested in your business and service offerings. And just before we explore further into what it is that we're talking about today, let me just give a brief summary for our listeners. So today's listing is an e-commerce business in the home niche, and it was created in September 2016. The average monthly revenue for the business is $11,268, and it makes an average of $3,101 per month in net profit. The assets included in the sale are a primary domain and all site contents and files, blank domain, a trademark, some social media accounts, an email list that has over 1,800 subscribers and over 1,900 emails from promotions and partnerships, SOPs, and supplier contracts and relationships. Just please note that inventory isn't normally included in the listing price, so further details can be provided to active buyers. You can head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 48948 to learn more about the business. If you want to start your due diligence, just remember to unlock the listing first. Alright Matt, so we've gotten all those, details out of the way, but let's learn more about you. Can you tell me about how you got started in online businesses? Is this something new to you, or have you always been in the industry?
No, it is actually something new to me. E-commerce was never really part of my background. My background has really been in the financial space and in sales in the financial space for quite some time. There was a kind of a personal health problem that I was having and needed a solution for it, and ended up trying to create my own solution for it. It falls into the home goods niche. And so what happened is that I ended up really wanting to create a product and found a manufacturer that could help me with that. I had no really history or experience in e-commerce, but over the past 4 years have learned a ton as we've grown our business and sold this product for the past 4 years. So I learned a lot, but it's been all new to me over the past 4 years.
Well, I can imagine, yeah. It sounds like you took quite a new adventure there 4 years ago, and obviously it sort of paid off with your business. But let me ask you though, Matt, why specifically e-commerce? Why did you pick up this business model in particular to start your business?
It's interesting. I had been reading a lot about e-commerce. So this was back in 2016. And at that point, didn't know much about it, but it was gaining popularity, I think, in a number of ways. And so this was about the same time that Shopify was out there and starting to grow. And so the product that we created was just one that really worked well for me and worked well for my family. And so we thought that there might be an opportunity to sell it to the public. We had some friends and family that we invited over to test out the product, and they all said that it was very, very nice. And so we thought, well, maybe this could be bigger than just our little circle of friends here. Maybe we should look into expanding and trying to reach the greater public. So the great thing is there was plenty of ways to learn online. And so I just took that initiative from creating the product to try and figure out how to publicize it, promote it, and get it out, to a larger audience. And luckily enough, we've been pretty successful.
Yeah, sounds great, Matt. Sort of push you further on that. So you were mentioning, there was a lot to learn about the e-commerce business model and running an online business. Were there any specific communities or influencers or just any great resources for e-commerce that you found just really supercharge your knowledge and help you get started?
Yeah, it's interesting. So when we first started off, I was just kind of Googling different resources, going through YouTube and things like that, watching videos. A big part, obviously, e-commerce store is getting the word out. So trying to figure out how to promote and advertise through social media, whether that be Facebook or Google or Pinterest, or learning about what performance marketing was and what those kind of partnerships look like and affiliate marketing partnerships look like. It was all new to me, but it was, an interesting world. And So one that I dove into, I wouldn't necessarily say that there was a specific kind of resource that I leaned on. More recently, listening to different podcasts like My First Million and some of the groups that they have, the Facebook groups that they're involved with, and seeing other kind of entrepreneurs that are opening e-commerce businesses as passion projects or side hustles has been super helpful. But there's just a ton of content out there. I mean, whether it's, finding just information on YouTube or taking courses through Udemy, they've all been super helpful. Obviously, I still got a ton to learn. I'm probably not an expert by any means, but over the past few years, it's been super helpful to kind of have a community that can teach and I can ask questions and try and figure out, the best way to promote our product.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that learning journey ever stops, really. I think it's great that you've got that community that you can bounce ideas off and support each other, just do each other's shared experiences, which is fantastic. I want to ask you, Matt, because our listeners will be wondering, why are you selling the business right now instead of staying with it and growing it?
Yeah, that question comes up a lot, and it's a good question. I mean, the real reason is because the company started as a passion project. So I was trying to address a need that I had, and from there it kind of grew just as an opportunity that I saw in the market. I've got 2 young kids, so we've got a 10-month-old and a 3-year-old in the house, and everything that's been going on with COVID and full-time jobs, it's just been a little bit, overwhelming to try and continue to learn and trying to continue to grow the business. So at this point, we've grown to a specific point where I felt like, in order to do this, I'd probably need to look at it full-time. There's still a steep learning curve as far as I'm concerned that I'd probably need to undertake, and with 2 young kids, it's just not the right time for me to do that. So that was kind of the catalyst to posting the business on Empire Flippers to see, people with much more experience and know-how than me can take the business to the next level.
Yeah, I hear you on there, Matt. As a father of a toddler myself, it's just time just disappears, really, when you've got a full-time job, and just imagine, an online business as well. I guess shifting priorities, for sure. Let me ask you then, because you alluded to the fact that there was a lot to learn to get up to speed with e-commerce. For this business in particular, what were some of the things that you learned that really worked for you when you were building this business in particular?
Again, I'm starting from knowing nothing. So when we first started the company, creating even a website was a heavy lift. We started actually through an organization called Strikingly, which did a great job for what we needed when we first started off when we were really small. We've since migrated over to Shopify, which has been awesome. I'm sure everybody that's listening is familiar with Shopify and the different apps that Shopify offers that are super helpful for people like me, that are running a business as kind of a side hustle passion project. So that in and of itself was super helpful. And then, different affiliate programs out there like Share a Sale, groups like that. And then just the Shopify kind of ecosystem of webinars and things like that have all really helped us just grow the business. So those are some of the channels that have been helpful for us in kind of getting the word out and expanding the business.
Yeah, Matt, that absolutely makes sense, for sure. Were there any software or tools that helped you when you first started running the business?
Yeah, there are a number of things really through Shopify. You really got to give all the credit back to Shopify because there are a lot of different apps that we use. We started, with our email marketing using MailChimp and have recently switched over to Klaviyo, which has been super helpful for email marketing, even though there's a number of things that I should be doing that I'm not doing. Apps like Yotpo for reviews to get customer reviews and easily sync those with the website have been fantastic. Google My Business is actually something that we use a lot that I think a lot of e-commerce companies aren't using, which they should, even though we sell nationally across the United States. It's been super helpful to have those reviews on Google, specifically when people are searching in our niche, to have us populate up there and to be able to immediately have that social proof that, Google users are buying our product and loving our product has been helpful. And Google does everything. I mean, everything they do is top notch. So those are some of the tools that we've used to really kind of grow the business, to show the value of what we offer, and to make sure that customers are confident in what we're selling.
That's great. On the other side of the coin then, what were some of the things that you tried that didn't work while you're building the business?
That's a good question. I would say that we've tried a couple campaigns with social media influencers that just haven't been as effective as we had hoped. Again, that's probably user error on my part, But, we found that really advertising on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Google has really been way more beneficial for us than trying to throw money micro influencers in our niche. That was one area where we thought we could really capitalize, and it just hasn't been that effective for us. Again, maybe user error, but we've kind of stuck with some of the more traditional advertising methods, and that has been a little bit more successful.
That segues nicely, actually. I want to ask you, what do you currently do in terms of marketing for the business right now?
The big part of what we do has been publishing partnerships. So affiliate partnerships have been super successful for us. We've used a couple different groups to create content for us. So our blog is pretty nice. We're trying to drive SEO through that. We've done the traditional Facebook advertising, which has been good, not great. We've done Pinterest, which actually has been probably our favorite channel and our most successful channel, and then Google Ads as well. We're trying to do everything that we can. There's room for improvement. Again, I'm not an expert in any of those fields, and so when I look at what we're doing, I can see certain things that, maybe we should change, or certain things that I need to learn a little bit more about that I think could help us be more effective. But, the few channels that I just mentioned right there are really the ones that have driven the business so far.
And is the majority of your traffic coming from organic search or paid advertising, or a healthy mix of both?
It's a healthy mix. We've got a good online reputation. So if you find out, if you search our brand, you would be able to see kind of the history there. And I think one of the strengths of our business is that we have been around for 4 years. So we have a pretty good record out there in the public domain. So I think it's just the time that we've put in and all of that has really proven to help the business, obviously, with the different channels that we're going through.
Let's talk, Matt, about the work that's required to run the business on a day-to-day basis. Can you briefly describe some of your tasks?
Yeah, sure. The main thing is, we don't have to spend a ton of hours here within the business. The great thing is we formed a partnership with our manufacturer where they're actually fulfilling our orders for us as well. So they're creating the product and fulfilling the orders for us. They're based in the United States, which is a big thing for us and was important to us. So really my main responsibilities are dealing with customer service questions. So they're questions that come in about the product or ordering or returns or anything along those lines. That's what I deal with on a daily basis. Those don't come in very, very often, thankfully. So there's not a huge amount of time spent there. And then the other kind of aspect of what I do is making sure that ads are up and running and performing correctly, and then I tweak those every once in a while. And then I'm continuing to reach out through affiliate partnerships too, because that's been a good channel for us. So it's not a ton of time that I put in, again, because it's, something that I'm doing on the side, but it takes a few hours a week, and those are the areas that I typically focus.
Sure, it definitely sounds like it's quite a hands-off operation at the moment. Mm-hmm. Let's just say, for example, you're talking to, I was someone who has no idea about e-commerce and the niche as well, but I wanted to step in there and acquire the business from you. What are some of the skills or requirements you would recommend I would brush up on so that I can hit the ground running?
Yeah, I would say social media advertising would be the number one thing right now, because a lot of the different e-commerce companies and colleagues that I've talked to out there all talk about scaling through, Facebook advertising or Pinterest advertising or Google advertising. And just having a strong skill set there, Vinnie, I think would be beneficial for any e-commerce owner. So I think that would be the place to start. If I was doing this all over again, that's probably where I would start. And then having a good kind of operational attitudes towards email marketing. We have a lot of great customers, a lot of customers that come back to the site, making sure that we're providing value to them after just the sale of the product, whether that be through blog posts or through emails, a newsletter, I think is important. And being able to be organized and creating a kind of a structure and a campaign around that is super helpful. So those are really the areas that I'd focus. I think social media advertising is where you want to start. If you're an expert in there, you can really grow an e-commerce company, but having some, operational know-how around email marketing also super important.
Okay, that's great. If you were to stay with the business, what are some of the ways that you would try to grow it?
Yeah, so we would expand the product line. So, right now we only have a handful of SKUs and roughly around the same price point. So I would introduce a couple new products. I've got a few in mind in the niche that I think could be super successful and nice add-ons for our current customers that are visiting the site. So that's where I'd start, because we've got, not many SKUs, and that kind of hurts us a little bit when you try and upsell or possibly cross-sell to the customers that we already know about. So I'd start there. The second part would probably be international expansion. So we've had many potential customers reach out to us from Canada, from other countries, and we only sell within the United States. So I haven't done my due diligence to look in to see what's involved. I know that Shopify makes it easier for international sales, but that's just something that we haven't done. I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. And so the two areas that I would, if I was still running the company, would be expanding the product list and then expanding international, specifically to Canada.
Gotcha. Matt, all businesses, there's always an inherent risk, right? So what would you say are some of the biggest risks with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
It's a good question. I mean, I think that you look at kind of some of where the traffic is coming from. We only sell through Shopify, so we're not reliant on, Amazon and their commissions or changing their algorithms. Our SEO still has a lot of work to be done. So again, we're not super reliant on our Google ratings or things like that. I would think, the one area that could be of concern is that maybe our product is a little bit more expensive than some of the other products in the niche. And with everything that's been going on with COVID and people, hunkering down, there could be some cause for concern that, people may not want to spend as much money for the product. We have not seen that this year, and we're thankful for that up to this point. But maybe that's one area that could change if, things continue to happen in 2021 like they've been happening in 2020.
All right, Matt, just the last few questions as we round out this interview. How much support are you offering buyers? Is it the standard 30 days of email support?
Yeah, it's standard 30 days of email support. Happy to hop on a phone call as well. I want to make sure that the buyer is successful and can grow the business. I want them to succeed just as much as, I've wanted to succeed myself. So it would be the standard 30 days via email. If they wanted phone calls, I'd be happy to do that as well.
That's great to hear. Are you willing to commit to a non-compete?
For sure, yeah.
Great. And are you open to negotiating something like an earnout?
Yeah, I would be open to that. I know that seller financing is a big thing. And so depending on what the terms of that would be, I'm always open to having those conversations and seeing what works out for both parties.
That's great to hear. All right, Matt. So last question for you. If you put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think that this is a business that's worth buying?
I think that it's a business worth buying because I feel like we've only scratched the surface. We've grown this business to some pretty good numbers, or I've grown this business to some pretty good numbers without any real experience. So I feel like the best buyer in this scenario is one that comes in with some of the things that I've already talked about, some of the tools that I've already talked about, and the know-how that I don't have. Again, I think that the reason that the business has been successful is because we have a phenomenal product. I think that there's chance or an opportunity to expand the product list. And then if you can dominate social media, which we haven't to this point, you could really scale this up quite quickly, I believe. So I think that there's just a lot of opportunity. The fact that I'm a novice, I think, is going to be to somebody else's advantage.
Yeah, thanks for that honest appraisal there. Is there anything else that you think I might have missed that you'd like to share?
No, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I hope that people have kind of got an understanding of the areas where we're strong and some of the areas where there's room for improvement. But I think we've covered nearly all of it.
That's great. Matt, thank you so much for joining me on today's interview.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Vinnie.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, you can head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 48948. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.